Ahoy hoy all, Druss here, and welcome back to another Conquest Reforged video. Today, in this video, we're going to be discussing something that's, while not overlooked, something that can be an afterthought in most people's buildings, and that is chimneys. Now, chimneys are an integral part of most traditional buildings, so they can add a lot to a building, and they are something that, if done properly, really does add depth of character to your build. So in front of me, I'm after doing a traditional, what I would consider to be a fairly standard vanilla build, just a facade, and on it I've put a chimney that, again, I would have done in vanilla myself. Now, with vanilla, I've always found that it's essential to bring your chimney out from the building to add depth of character to your builds, and it really is essential, I'm afraid, in vanilla Minecraft to do that. But in reality, chimneys aren't wonky. They don't take bends and they don't curve or jump out like this in reality, at least not in my experience. But as I said, it is essential in, or relatively essential in, vanilla Minecraft, just to give your building some depth. But in reality, chimney stacks, which is what this is, are straight. Now, I can show you an example of one I built a long time ago. This atrocity. And I was very proud of this. For some bizarre reason, it curves all over the place. And while that can be okay in a fantasy build or something along those lines, if you're going for a little bit of realism, for want of a better word, wonky chimney stack like this is not realistic. To do something a little more realistic, you really ought to have something like the Conquest Reforged mod pack, and that allows you build straight chimney stacks which also come out from the wall a bit to give your building some depth, and I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so here we have just a very simple Conquest Reforged facade that I'm after knocking together. It's only a prop really to display the chimney, so please ignore how basic it is. Now, with Conquest Reforged, as I've mentioned before, we have all manner of vertical slabs and corner slabs and that sort of thing, and that allows you build a far more straight chimney, and a chimney that's a little bit more realistic. And as you can see, the chimney stack in this one goes just straight up, but yet it does come out from the wall a little bit to give your wall and your building a little bit of depth. I've simply used just a couple of vertical slabs and layers in this, and again, unlike the first vanilla building, this doesn't come out a full block, it only comes out a half block. So again, it just allows your chimney stack to look a little bit, come out a little bit from the building and give your building a little bit more depth. On the very top of the chimney stack, I've again, with the vanilla Minecraft, the most basic, we'll just whiz over to it again. With the vanilla Minecraft, you really only can add a flower pot usually, and maybe a wall block to give a flue, and it looks quite basic. With the Conquest Reforged, you're able to add, well, with 1.15 and above, there are quarter slabs that gives your chimney a little bit of character, and I've used a vase as a flue, and again, just adds a little bit more decoration. It's a bit more decorative, a little bit more character, and most importantly, it is straight. So again, if you're doing a fantasy build, I'm sure that it's quite okay to have chimneys that are curved all over the place like that one I have shown you, but I think it's far better to have a straight chimney stack. Finally, we're just going to come over here. So the chimney stack here is coming out from the roof in the center, because in a lot of cases, fires and fireplaces are built not at the edge of a house, which I'm often guilty of building because it's just convenient, but the actual fireplaces are often built in the center of a house because it allows the chimney stack radiate heat throughout the house as the bricks of the stack warm up. So in this case I'm after doing that just to display it. I'm also after putting on 2 flues, because you're going to want a flue if you're building realistically. You're going to want a flue for each actual fireplace within the build, so be that 2 or 4. Now obviously with 2 flues the building will be maybe possibly around the same size, but if you have 4 flues the building will likely be a bigger build, and you can build them in a square. So there you have it. As I said, if you want to build a slightly more realistic build, oftentimes you will have a chimney stack in the middle of a house. That way it radiates, as I said, heat throughout the house as the fire is lit. Now finally on to just a few ideas for decorative chimneys, because as I said, with Conquest Reforged we're capable of building far more, and we can add some decoration to even small details like chimneys, and they will lend a huge amount of character to your builds. Okay, so finally for this portion of the video, here are just some small examples of how to top off a chimney. In this one it's probably the simplest. I've just used some vertical slabs at a lower part of the chimney to allow the chimney narrow towards the top. Again, some quarter slabs at the top to give it a trim, and I think it's a lime mortar vertical slab or pillar to use as the flue. That's fast becoming my favourite brick for flues. It just looks fantastic. Now I'm just going to hop out of spectator mode for this particular part, but if you want to achieve this lower bit being thicker and then narrowing towards the base, and you can't manage it because there are stairs in the way of the roof or something along those lines, it's rather simple to fix. All you need is, as you can see, some arch blocks. Because the arch blocks actually come out past the area of the block itself, it looks as if there's a vertical slab there even though there's not. So all you do is put your arch blocks in, and then the places where you can see the arch, I'm just going to hop out of spectator mode here for a second, you put in your vertical slabs, and there you have it. And again, now it looks as though where the arch block is, that there is an actual, as you can see there, it's coming up past the stair or the roof, and it looks like there's a block there even though it's not. It's just a little visual trick. At the top of this I'm after using a bucket and just some railing, just to give it some decoration. In this example I'm after using, again, same technique, just narrowing towards the top, and a balustrade portcullis block just because it looks like a flue. Again, just a different option. This is something of a more industrial looking chimney. It's a bit taller. Again, uses the balustrade block and then a little pipe block as a worn out metal flue, and just some steel railings to support the actual higher chimney. This is one that I used to use, well, ignoring the little quarter slabs along the edge to give the chimney stack itself a little bit more of a 3D effect. I've used some wooden boards as a wind block, because you'd have them in the direction of the prevailing wind, and it would just it would move the smoke in the direction you perhaps wanted it to move. Again, it's a little decoration to add to the top of your chimney. Again, a chimney stack that just narrows as it goes towards the top, again using vertical slabs, and then just using a different vase as a chimney flue. In this one, again, same technique, trimmed with a quarter block or a lintel, quarter block I think that is, and then using a basin or as a cauldron as a chimney flue. Now, in some areas, these two here that we can see, one that was an afterthought, but in looking through chimneys I discovered that there are a huge amount of Victorian chimneys that are actually quite ornate, and the chimney flues can be quite ornate. So this is just to try and replicate something along those lines, that in a more grand house or a more ornate house, richer household perhaps, you can have chimney flues that would be more decorative. And as I said, I found lots and lots of examples of, in the Victorians in particular, seem to have liked making ornate chimney flues and chimney stacks. This is just another example of it. I thought the column block worked quite well as just a little chimney flue. Finally, this is fairly basic, but incorporates the fact that with the vanilla Minecraft and now with Conquest 1.15 and above, we have the campfire blocks that create smoke. So perhaps you want to have a chimney that is actually smoking. Now we do have a smoke block within Conquest Reforged that's stationary and is perhaps a little easier in terms of CPU usage. But if you wanted to have more dynamic smoke, you can just build vertical slabs all the way up, and then in the base of it have your campfire that's creating the smoke for the chimney. So there we have it. So just a couple of small examples for you. The trick with Conquest Reforged, as with Minecraft in general I suppose, is to be creative, experiment with the blocks, and discover something that works for you. But hopefully this will give you some idea as to what's possible. And next we'll just be moving on to some actual examples in a town I'm building with a friend of mine, and just the chimneys I've built there. So we'll go there next. And finally, here we are. So this first chimney is actually not one of mine, it's one of Scout's, and again just slightly different style, and it just shows what's capable, or what is possible even, with Conquest Reforged. Just some nice use of vertical slabs there and a cannonball as the flue. Here's one I've already shown you. This is just the actual the lime mortar, I think it is, vertical pillars as flues with just some flower pots on top, and again just a trim with a quarter block, and it thickens towards the base. Here's an example, as I mentioned earlier on, of a chimney that actually comes up through the center of the house. So it's in the center of the roof itself. And here I have one that's on the outside of the house that I made into something of a feature. It's a bigger chimney stack, obviously. It's supported by a lintel block in some areas, and again just is a little bit more decorative. I've used a combination of arch blocks and that sort of Conquest Reforged specific block to create that, or to achieve that kind of more ornate look. Again, just there's an example of the Conquest Reforged smoke, and yeah, so there we have it. It's just a more decorative chimney stack. Here we go, and again another quite a simple chimney, just coming up towards the back of the house, uses some rail blocks as a support, and just has a normal flue at the top. So there we have it. These are basically all the techniques I'm already after discussing in my video. So as you can see, they can be applied to the real world, and chimneys can be important, and can, again another one of Scout's, chimneys can lend a lot of character to your house and to your building when you're doing it. But I suppose that's all for me. Until next time, stay frosty and goodbye.